everybody, this is the Historiographer. Today we will continue the fascinating story of Hayreddin Barbarossa, where we shall see the Ottoman and Spanish struggle over Tunis, and we will finally witness the events of the Battle of Preveza between the newly established Holy League and the Ottoman Empire. So watch till the end. By the 1530s, the Hafsid Sultanate of Tunis had become a strategic choke point in the Mediterranean Sea. Controlling Tunis would mean for the Ottomans a land connection from the lands in Libya and Egypt to Algeria. Inversely, the Spanish sought to control Tunis by whatever means, to keep the Ottoman armies away from Spain, and to re-establish their lost dominance in the West Mediterranean. Thus, in order to keep Spanish eyes away from attacking Tunis, Barbarossa planned a diversionary attack to divert Spanish forces, and only then would he be able to rapidly capture Tunis. He thus embarked on one of his most famous and ingenious raids, the raid which would capture Spanish possessions in the Adriatic Sea, Italy, and even threaten the Catholic Holy City of Rome itself. Indeed, in 1534, and after nearly a year and a half in Istanbul, Barbarossa set sail from the imperial city with 80 newly built galleys. Not long after, he recaptured the Greek cities of Koroni, Patras, and Lepanto from the Spaniards in the Peloponnese. Then, in July 1534, he set his sight on the Italian peninsula. He daringly crossed the Strait of Messana and raided the coast of Calabria, capturing a huge number of ships there. In the same month, Hayreddin appeared with his fleet near the city of Napoli and bombarded its ports. Barbarossa then made his way up the Mediterranean Sea and landed at the city of Ostia, which was only 30 kilometers away from Rome, causing the church bells in the Pope's city to sound the alarm. Panic and confusion spread, and many were frightened that Barbarossa was going to sail up the river Tiber to reach Rome, but the raid had achieved its intended objectives. The Spanish forces were confused and in disarray, and more cities were hastily garrisoned in all of the Spanish possessions, thus splitting Spanish resources. Barbarossa, judging the time to be right, quickly set sail to Tunis, but on his way, he raided the coasts of Sicily to confuse the Spaniards. At this moment, he split up his forces. Barbarossa sent back 40 ships which were packed of spoils to Istanbul and kept only 40 warships for the Tunis operation. By August of 1534, Barbarossa finally docked his ships in the port of La Goulette. As soon as he reached Tunis, the people came out to receive him. However, the Hafsid Sultan, Moulay al-Hassan, fled Tunisia and sought the help of the Emperor Charles V to restore his throne. Charles first dispatched an agent to offer Barbarossa the lordship of North Africa for his exchanged loyalty, or, if that failed, to assassinate him. However, Barbarossa knew about the plot, and, upon rejecting the offer, he killed the Spanish agent. Charles, who was furious and eager to take revenge on Hayreddin, pounced upon the presented opportunity. In fact, the emperor set sail from Barcelona in August 1535 with 24,000 troops and 300 ships. Hayreddin's forces, who only numbered around 10,000 men, tried to hold out as much as possible and inflicted massive losses to the Spaniards. But Barbarossa was forced to retreat from Tunis due to the futility of armed resistance. When Charles entered the city, he carried out a massacre where 30,000 were killed, and it is documented that the stench of the corpses was such that Charles V soon left the city of Tunis. As a result of the campaign, the Hafsids relinquished La Goulette and Benzert to the Spaniards, were forced to pay an annual tribute of 12,000 golden ducats, and allowed them to reside freely throughout the country. In short, Tunis was made a Spanish protectorate. Barbarossa withdrew to Algeria, and from there he set out in 32 naval warships to the Balearic archipelago. He completely destroyed the Spanish ports of Minorca and Majorca. Then, seeking to punish the Portuguese for their participation in the attack on Tunis, he sailed through the Straits of Gibraltar and sabotaged the port of Faro in southern Portugal. In September 1535, he repulsed another Spanish attack on the city of Tlemcen. When the storm had finally settled, he departed Algeria by late 1535 and left his son Hassan Reyes in his place. With his departure from Algeria this time, his life became linked not only to North Africa, but to Ottoman history. In August of 1537, Barbarossa led a huge Ottoman force that captured all of the Aegean and Ionian islands belonging to the Republic of Venice. In the same year, Barbarossa raided the island of Corfu and completely destroyed the agricultural cultivations on the island. These losses prompted Venice to ask Pope Paul III to organize an alliance against the Ottomans, aiming to halt the lightning-fast naval and land conquests of the seemingly unstoppable Ottoman Empire. After nearly 6 months of political maneuvering, Pope Paul III succeeded in assembling an alliance which he christened the Holy League in February of 1538. This alliance comprised the Papacy, Spain, Portugal, the Holy Roman Empire, the Republic of Venice, the Republic of Genoa, and the Maltese Knights, all united against the unrelenting Ottoman wave. Without a single doubt, the Holy League was the greatest military challenge Barbarossa would ever face in his career, and in summer of 1538, fate would bring Hayreddin to face his old foe Andrea Doria once again, who now commanded the great Christian coalition which gathered near the island of Corfu. In total, the Holy League had 302 ships and 60,000 soldiers, including 50 large galleons, which were huge ships that relied upon the wind for navigation, 112 mid-sized galleys, which relied both upon the wind and rowing, and 140 smaller barks. Meanwhile, Hayreddin gathered his forces near the island of Kos in the Aegean Sea. His fleet consisted of 112 galleys and 12,000 soldiers. He was outnumbered 3 to 1, but his vessels did not primarily rely on wind, like the bulk of the European fleet, which consisted of barks and galleons, but rather they were rowed, thus giving the Ottoman fleet greater maneuverability. Barbarossa sailed his fleet up the western coast of Greece, and then quickly entered the Ambracian Gulf. His right flank was secured by the Ottoman fortress at Preveza, which could support the Ottoman fleet by cannon fire at any time, while his left flank at Actium was protected by Ottoman cannons and some soldiers that were disembarked from his ships. By now, Andrea Doria had realized the strong position and land advantage of Barbarossa. On the 25th and 26th of September, 2 sorties were sent to try and occupy the fortress of Preveza, but both of them were repulsed. Thus, Andrea Doria, fearing the late seasonal winds which could potentially put his fleet in a weak position, and after realizing that he could not attack Barbarossa's well-entrenched fleet head-on, ordered his ships to sail 40 kilometers south to dock near the island of Lepkeda. He also figured that the numerically inferior Ottoman fleet would not dare to attack him either. Doria's plan was simple. He had to attack the city of Lepanto to force Barbarossa out of his fortified position. However, the coordination of a fleet of more than 300 ships from multiple nations was logistically both difficult and slow. Indeed, the plan proved to be a massive mistake, as Barbarossa took the chance and exited out of his position at dawn. Andrea Doria was surprised to see that the Turks were coming towards his ships. Nobody in the Allied Armada expected such a daring offensive from the numerically inferior Ottoman fleet. Furthermore, the Holy League's fleet was heavily overextended, with Doria's Spanish-Genoese fleet 16 kilometers away from the Venetian, Papal, and Maltese squadrons, who would be the first to be attacked. The Ottoman fleet was shaped in a crescent-like formation, while the Christian fleet consisted of multiple lines of ships. The two armadas finally engaged on the afternoon of 28 September 1538. and the fighting began. The Ottomans first bombarded the coalition's ships with their modernized cannons that had a greater range than their European counterparts, and would prove essential to their victory in the battle. After the bombardment, Barbarossa swiftly engaged the Venetian, Papal, and Maltese ships which were at the forefront, but Doria hesitated to bring his center into action against Barbarossa, which led to much tactical maneuvering but little fighting. Barbarossa wanted to take advantage of the lack of wind which had rendered the Christian barks immobile on the windless seas. These barks fell as easy prey to the Turks, who bombarded them with their more mobile galleys. The battle lasted for 5 hours, and at the end of the day, the Ottomans sunk, destroyed, or captured 128 ships and had taken 3,000 prisoners. Hayreddin Barbarossa did not lose a single ship, though some were critically damaged. Barbarossa's fleet suffered 400 dead and 800 wounded. The next morning, with favorable winds and unwilling to risk his Spanish-Genoese ships, Andrea Doria set sail and left the battlefield, deaf to the pleas of the Venetian, Papal, and Maltese commanders to continue the fighting. Just like that, the Ottoman Empire became the undisputed master of the eastern Mediterranean basin, and Hayreddin Barbarossa won the day thanks to his tactical brilliance, his situational awareness, his masterful choice of vessels before the battle, and his modernization efforts to the Ottoman navy. When the dust had finally settled, Barbarossa immediately dispatched a message to Sultan Suleiman, informing him of the Ottoman victory over the Holy League. Victory was declared in all of the Ottoman domains. Thank you for watching part 3 on our series on Hayreddin Barbarossa. Subscribe to not miss out on part 4, which is the last part where we shall see the successful defense of Algiers in the face of furious Spanish attacks, and how Barbarossa finally transformed the Mediterranean Sea into an Ottoman lake thanks to the Battle of Preveza and the defense of Algiers.